My ST has become so fast and such a track monster that I desperately need to upgrade to the RS brakes. I'm just kidding. My car is mostly stock. May have a tune on it. I don't know. But they're pretty. In all actuality, these are going to look awesome on the car. They go well with my blue and black combination that I have on the car, as you can see. But these are going to be sweet. So today we're going to do the RS front brake upgrade. I'm going to show you how to do it with stock Snowflake wheels. Here's all the components we're going to be using today. We have stock Brembo front calipers from an RS, the hardware kits for them, OEM brake pads, RS front rotors, and the RS brake hoses. All of these parts are Motorcraft parts and have Motorcraft part numbers. Those part numbers will be in the description for this video. Now you might be asking yourself, how much exactly does this RS brake upgrade cost? Well, if you buy from other online sources, you could be looking at anywhere between $900 to $1,000 or more.
Money, 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 money.
Me, I was able to source everything through RockAuto, and I had it shipped out the door for $660. And the only reason it was that high is because the one caliper has a core charge for some reason. Now obviously I can't send back my stock ST caliper in place of the Brembo core charge because they're apples and oranges. So I'm going to have to eat that cost. But I'm okay with that because I saved probably $300 to $400 buying it through RockAuto. So let's get started by getting the front of the car up in the air. Okay, let's get our front wheels off. Okay, I turned my wheels to the left to give me a little more room to the back here. I'm taking the caliper off by the mounting bolts for the bracket. There's no need to take the caliper mounting bolts out. Just take it off by the bracket, which is an 18 millimeter. Hang on to your bracket mounting bolts, you're going to be using them still. Now you're going to want to take your caliper and hang it out of the way. I'm not ready to disconnect the brake line just yet. Now I've turned the wheel in, I'm going to take the rotor off. Now from what I gather, if you have a pre-facelift, which is a pre-2015 model, you may have to trim some of your backing plate here. Supposedly for 15 models and up, you don't need to do that. So we'll find out when we get this all mounted. The next thing I'm going to do though is to clean up the hub surface here where the rotor goes against. With that done, you can use a little bit of anti-seize on the hub surface. You don't need a ton, just enough. Keep your rotor from seizing on there, especially if you live in a northern state like I do in the Rust Belt. That should do it. Now we can fit our new monstrous rotor on from the RS. There it is. And it perfectly clears the backing plate, so you're not going to have any issues there. Now I'm going to turn this wheel out again, just to give me a little bit of room in the back. We're going to start mounting our caliper on. Let's test fit our Brembo caliper. Alright, I may have been mistaken a little bit on my 15 here. I do have to trim kind of this outcropping away from the top and bottom of the backer plate. So I'm going to take her pretty much straight right down here and here. And then we'll file off the edges so we don't have sharp edges on there. So I'm going to get some cutting done. When you do this, protect your eyes, protect your ears. You only get one set. Public service announcement. Now let's give a test fit on our caliper and see what we got. Hey, there we go. Good to go. Okay, so listen, this is literally all you have to take off. This is roughly about 5/8 of an inch. You don't need to take any more than that off of your backing plate. Going back on with our rotor. Now on with the caliper. I'm adding a little bit of blue Loctite to our mounting bolts. Now you can tighten up your mounting bolts. Now's a good time to disconnect your brake hose from the bracket here with an 8mm. I've decided that I'm going to put my brake line on the caliper first and get that part sealed up. That way I can just quickly transfer it over to the hard line and lose as little brake fluid as possible. Just take your new line out of the bag. It has new crush washers already on the line, ready to go. And just start screwing it in place. Well, it looks like a 10mm, but it's not a 10mm. Can I get an 11? There we go. So we're going to tighten that up. You don't have to go crazy on them. Get your clip out of there. Okay, I finally got the clip out. It required me to actually pull it out enough to where I could see this edge right here, and I slipped a screwdriver down in there and pried it out the rest of the way. So now we can undo our hard line and get this brake hose out of the way so we can slip this one in quick, get the hard line reattached. Make sure you use a line wrench on here. You do not want to round out your hard line or you're going to be in for bigger troubles. This hard line down below is 11 millimeter. Make sure you watch while you're turning it that your whole line's not trying to turn. I like to put my hand up here just to feel that we're not turning the whole line. Because if you live in the rust belt like I do, sometimes these flare nuts can seize onto the lines. Then you'll break it, and then again, you're in for bigger troubles. Now's a good time to get a pan under here because you're going to be leaking brake fluid. I'm going to tighten up my brake line just a little bit to keep it from leaking too much. I don't want to leak all my fluid out because this is part of the clutch system as well. Alright, hard line is out. Soft line is now out. Calipers off. Let's get this line in place where it belongs. Get our hard line attached, start screwing it in. It's threading right in, thankfully. We'll tighten it up enough to where it stops leaking, and then we'll tighten it up the rest of the way after we get everything mounted on. Alright, leak's done. We lost very minimal brake fluid because of that. Now at this point you can put your locking clip back in the brake hose. Okay, the clip is in. If you see the way my brake hose is clocked, you can see that your notches for a wrench are facing this way, roughly about the 11 o'clock position if you're facing it. You have to have it clocked that way so it slips down into the groove right inside here, and then you can start putting your locking clip in. Now I'm going to put the bracket back on for the hose. Now we can start loading up our calipers with the brake pads. The nice thing is when you get these, the pistons are already fully collapsed, so you can just put them right in. All right, now with our brake line firmly on, we're not leaking any fluid, we need to take the retainer bolt out of the caliper. It's a 13 mil. Another nice thing about Brembo is it makes brake pad changes a breeze. All right, now with that out, now you'll see two of the brake pads actually have a wear indicator on them. What this does is as your pads wear, this metal clip will ride on the rotor and squeal. That's an indication that your pads are really worn. And it doesn't matter where you put this. I prefer it on the outside so you can see. I'm going to put a little bit of caliper grease in here, here, and at the tops. Just for the pads to slide on a little bit. Just a little, not a lot. Ever so slightly a little bit. We'll clean that off the rotor anywhere we got it later. We don't want it there, for sure. We'll take off this adhesive backer right here. We'll slip our brake pads in. Make sure they're going the right direction. Pad surface in. And the slider pins, I like to put a little bit of brake grease on them as well. Just a little bit. You don't need a lot. Going to put our pad retainer bolt back in. Collapsing this. Getting it back in there. Put just a skosh of blue Loctite on our bolt. With that bolt in place, we can now drive our slider pins in. We can give them a little tappy, a little tap, tap, taparoo.
Just tap it in. Just tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, taparoo.
There they are. Got them dirty already. No. All right, everything's in place on this side. I'm going to go over and complete the other side, and then we'll bleed the brakes. Okay, so it's time to bleed the brakes now. I just wanted to point something out. This is the master cylinder back here. Why, Ford? Why do we have to put it underneath the cowling where it's not easily accessible? That is a terrible design. Why would you do that?
What is wrong with you?
Anyway, let's get to bleeding the brakes. You can see up here I'm using my pneumatic bleeder. If you don't have one of these, you should get one. This tool is really helpful when you're by yourself and you need to bleed brakes or clutch or anything like that. It basically uses air pressure as a vacuum to take brake fluid in from the bleeder valve and put it into this canister. And since I'm by myself, this is what I'm going to do. Now you'll notice on a Brembo brake, there are two bleeder valves and you need to bleed both. Start with the outer and then do the inner. Also on the car, start with your furthest caliper from the master cylinder, which, since I'm only bleeding the front brakes, is just going to be the front right. And then I'll move over to the driver's side. Crack your bleeder open and start applying air. Okay, the brakes are bled, and now it's time to put the wheels back on. And I wanted to show you something before I do. Because of these Brembo brakes, if you want to run your factory snowflake wheels, you need a spacer. This is a 5mm spacer. Now, I've seen some use 5, I've seen some use 3 and say it's okay. I'm using a 5mm. It'll make it stick out a little bit, but just enough to clear the calipers. Alright, so let's get the wheels on. Now I'm only running these on slightly. Just enough that I can lower the car down and torque them to 89 foot-pounds. Alright, feeling the gap that we have between the wheel and the caliper, we probably could have done a 3mm spacer just fine. It would have just cleared it. But I see nothing wrong with the 5mm either. Alright, so I've flown the car to Mexico on a nice closed course to test out the brakes and maybe a little bit of speed test too and let you hear the exhaust. But let's see what the brakes do now. Tell me those don't look fantastic. I mean, just look at them.
Oh, would you look at that? Just look at that.
I can't.
Okay, I just got back from Mexico. The brake tests were great. They stopped great. Are they better than the ST factory brakes? I don't know. I'll never know. This car doesn't see a track, but they are pretty. So mission accomplished. Now obviously I still have some work to do because I did... Wait a minute here. You're not subscribed. No, not you. You. Why haven't you hit the subscribe button? It doesn't cost you anything. Like, you're watching the video, right? You should really hit it. Hit the subscribe and the like buttons. I'll wait. Did you do it? Anyway, I still have some work to do on the back. I need to get the Mazda brackets and the RS rotors and then paint the rear calipers so that they match these Brembos up front to complete the look. So that'll be down the road sometime. Now I had been planning to install a set of ST3 Recaros in this and I got scammed.
So, like, I do believe you want to cancel these subscriptions. Is that correct, sir?
Thankfully it was only for $100, but I got scammed nonetheless, and I'll know better the next time. I thought I had scored these seats for $450, and yes, that's a very low price, but in my area they only go for between $800 and $900 anyway. So it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. But I got scammed putting a deposit on it for $100 using Cash App. Don't use Cash App for deposits or for somebody you don't know because they don't protect you. PayPal, goods and services only. Another public service announcement. So anyway, I did manage to find another set on LKQ of all places. And guess what? They were even cheaper. It was $360, $400 after taxes and everything like that. So they'll be coming in a near future video. But anyway, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Please like this video, sign up for notifications, and I'll see you next time. That it's hard to get it to stop properly. So today, my ST Okay, I turned my wheels to the left. There's no need to take the caliper mounting bolt. There's no need to take the caliper mounting bolts out. Now's a good time to take. This looks like a 10 mil. I'll tighten that up. Well, it looks like a 10 mil, but it's not a 10 mil. Also on the car, start with your furthest caliper from, and there's plenty. I think there's plenty of. I'm using 5. Okay, I've flown the car to Mexico.